It's 10 o'clock at night. Someone puts a tray of food into the oven, closes the door, and goes back to whatever they were doing. A message pops up on their phone. They check it. A few minutes later, dinner is ready. Nothing unusual about that. Except when you stop and think about it. A wolf doesn't do that. A baboon doesn't do that. An eagle certainly doesn't do that. They find food, and they eat it. That's the deal nature offers almost every animal on Earth. And then there's us. Before we eat food, we boil it, roast it, bake it, ferment it, season it, smoke it, fry it. We change it. In fact, we've become so used to doing this that it barely feels strange anymore. But it should. Because if food already exists, why spend time transforming it first? It's a surprisingly odd question. Researchers estimate that millions of species have lived on this planet. Only one routinely looks at food and says, "Not yet." Only one insists on changing it before eating it. And that tiny habit may explain one of the biggest mysteries in human evolution. Because the story of cooking isn't just about food. It's about how a species ended up with a brain like ours. Most stories about food start with flavor. This one starts with fuel. Think about your brain for a second. It's not the largest organ in your body. It's not the strongest. Yet researchers estimate it consumes around 20% of your body's energy while you're at rest. 20%. That's an astonishing number when you compare it to other animals. A gorilla outweighs you. It's stronger than you in almost every physical way. But its brain demands far less energy. So here's the puzzle. How did a medium-sized primate end up carrying around one of the most expensive organs evolution ever produced? Where did all that fuel come from? Because brains don't run on ambition. They run on calories. Every species on Earth faces the same basic equation. Energy in, energy out. And for our ancestors, that equation was becoming a problem. A serious one. The story of cooking is often framed as a story about taste. But taste isn't the main character here. Energy is. And once you see that, the entire history of cooking starts to look different. To find the answer, we need to go back about 1.8 million years. Back before farms. Before cities. Before language as we know it. Back to Homo erectus. Fossil evidence suggests they lived through a period of environmental change. Parts of East Africa became drier. Forests shrank. Open landscapes spread across the horizon. Food still existed. Getting enough of it became harder. Imagine spending hours searching for edible plants, digging up roots, stripping meat from bone, and then spending even more hours chewing everything you found. Researchers estimate that some primates today spend more than 5 hours a day chewing. 5 hours. Every single day. Now imagine evolution trying to build a larger brain on top of that budget. Where would the extra energy come from? Then something entered the story. Not a weapon. Not a tool. At least not at first. Fire. Lightning strikes. Dry grass ignites. Animals run. Most creatures see danger. Our ancestors may have seen something else. Opportunity. And that distinction changed everything. Because maybe the most important step wasn't learning how to make fire. Maybe it was learning not to run from it. Before fire became a technology, it was a possibility. And possibilities can change history. Think about a piece of raw meat. No knife. No fork. No kitchen. Just you and the food. You pull at it. Tear at it. Chew it. Then chew some more. Every animal pays a price to access calories. For Homo erectus, that price was expensive. Time spent chewing couldn't be spent exploring, cooperating, learning, or watching for danger. Then heat entered the equation. The calories didn't change. Access to them did. Researchers have found that cooking breaks down tough structures inside food. The energy was already there. Fire simply made it easier for the body to reach. That's the key insight. Fire didn't create calories. It unlocked them. Suddenly roots became softer. Meat became easier to chew. Digestion started before food even entered the body. In a sense, part of the work moved outside the body. And that's an extraordinary thing. No wolf does that. No eagle does that. No baboon prepares food specifically to reduce digestive effort. Humans do. You could argue that the first kitchen wasn't a place. It was a biological shortcut. And once evolution discovers a shortcut, it tends to stick with it. Because every saved calorie can be invested elsewhere. And there was one place that desperately wanted more energy. The brain. Now let's move inside the body. Imagine two companies operating with the same income. One spends almost everything just keeping the lights on. The other finds a way to cut costs and reinvest those savings into growth. Which one expands faster? Some researchers believe something similar may have happened during human evolution. Large primates often rely on substantial digestive systems to process tough foods. Humans are unusual. Compared with our body size, our digestive tract is relatively smaller. Our brains are relatively larger. Less gut. More brain. Less processing. More thinking. The details are still debated, but the broader idea remains compelling. If cooking reduced the amount of biological effort needed for digestion, then energy could be redirected elsewhere. And evolution loves trade-offs. That's one of its favorite tricks. To gain something, you often give something up. A smaller digestive investment may have helped support a larger cognitive investment. It sounds almost too neat. Yet current evidence points toward that possibility. And if that's true, then one of the most important transactions in human history wasn't economic. It was biological. A smaller stomach helping pay for a bigger mind. Brains are expensive. Brains are demanding. Brains never stop asking for fuel. Cooking helped answer that demand. If you're still with me, subscribe, because the next part may completely change the way you think about evenings, stories, and even your own family dinner table. When people talk about fire, they usually focus on warmth, or protection, or cooking. But there may have been another gift hidden inside those flames. Time. Most animals follow the rhythm of daylight. When darkness arrives, activity drops and survival becomes the priority. Fire changed that rhythm. For the first time, there was usable time after sunset. A strange new category of time. Not hunting time. Not gathering time. Not work. Human time. And that's where things get interesting. Because once immediate survival pressure eased, people could do something unusual. They could talk. One person shared a lesson. Another remembered a place. Someone else told a story. Knowledge began moving from mind to mind. Experience became transferable. Information became social. Researchers studying traditional societies have long noted how storytelling preserves knowledge, values, and group identity. Fire may have provided the setting that made this possible. Long before books. Long before schools. Long before cities. There were conversations happening around controlled flames. In that sense, the campfire may have been humanity's first communication network. Fire didn't just change what people ate. It changed what people did after eating. And that might be one of the most important shifts our species ever experienced.